though. I'm pretty good at reading my customers, but this was a puzzle of a man. The oil lamps nailed to the wall behind me, athwart the big mirror, cast just our two shadows across the half-dozen empty tables, the unlit lamps on them, and wooden floors, planks that were scuffed from boots on the bar side, scarred with barrels being rolled and tugged across the other. The man at my bar was about 60. He might have been younger. It was tough to say with a face so cracked and lined it looked like sun-baked clay. He wore a beard, though that might be from inattention rather than choice. It was careless and naturally uneven. My customer hadn't bothered to take off his hat, so I couldn't see anything above the middle of his nose. But the tilt of his head said he was looking down, remembering from the stillness of him. Tired men don't sit still. They pass out. I couldn't tell the man's trade either. He didn't stink like a trapper or a ranch hand, which was most of my trade that weren't soldiers or Indians. There was a faint smell of gunpowder about him, possibly from the 2 Colt revolvers I saw him wearing when he walked in. The firearms were new, but these didn't gleam in the light. They looked as toughened as their owner. There was also a long, sheathed knife tied to his right leg. The man's clothes looked as weathered as the man who wore them. He had on a sheepskin vest, dirtier, I'm sure, than the sheep who once wore it. His slouch hat was probably gray under its uneven, dusty coat. His beard and mustache were as ungroomed and woolly as his vest, though they were definitely gray. He had likely washed his face in the horse trough after riding in from wherever he'd come. The mouth tucked amongst the whiskers was pencil straight and only moved for the intake of liquor. This gentleman's tall, lean frame was bent over slightly, like there was a slow-leaking sack of grain on his shoulders. They had risen just a little since he sat down. He was leaning mostly on his left hand, which was flat open on the bar. The other hand didn't release the glass. I'll get to those hands in a moment. He was drinking the house whiskey, Wild Nut by name, on account of the bit of walnut I brewed in with the alcohol, sugar, and chewing tobacco. He had sat there for maybe 10, 15 minutes before gulping the glass down. Then he sat there some more, not moving, not saying anything. I gave him a shot on the house, not even sure he could pay for the first one. But what the hell? Another one might open him up, help me pass the night. The man acknowledged by raising a finger. He didn't look up. He didn't say thanks. He just lifted that finger, which, like the rest of him, looked like it had seen better days. Now, I've seen stranger fingers since I draped that big open for business sign outdoors that got blown away the first day. I saw one that got flattened by a cow and looked like a spoon, one that got shot off by an arrow at the knuckle, leaving little notches in the adjoining fingers, one with the tattoo of a naked squaw who danced when it moved. There's a lot of uncommonness comes through my swinging doors. But these fingers weren't simply grotesque. They were... I once heard a traveling salesman describe a brass nutcracker as utile, and I would use that word to describe 8 of these fingers. They were straight and they were filed or stropped sharp, except for the trigger fingers. Those nails were sawed off at the tip. The skin was also utile, rough-looking, almost like tree bark. Again, as a whole, each hand had 4 sturdy little knives, like some beastie from the English penny awfuls I read when I attended the Philadelphia College of Apothecaries. The creatures and unnatural beasts of those stories gave me the shivers, and so did these devilish little fingers. And they hadn't even done anything, except one of them coming briefly to attention. That was the thing about this man. Based on absolutely nothing that he had done, he seemed like a coiled snake, just waiting for the wrong thing to make him strike. I didn't want any question of mine to be that wrong thing, so after pouring the second drink, I walked away to blow dust from the bottles that lined the wall under the mirror. But I glanced at him again, though at his reflection, and I saw something I didn't expect to see. A single lamp-lit tear on his left cheek. There being no minted money in these parts, not yet, I was always curious to see what